And welcome to the Law and Crime Report. I'm Brian Ross, taking a look at our coverage of the sensational murder trial in Akron, Ohio, in the Summit County Courthouse of Erica Stefanko. She's on trial for her role in the alleged murder of Ashley Biggs, the former girlfriend of her ex husband, who has testified against her. We're joined to talk about all this by Lisa Lockwood and Joseph Scott Morgan. And, in addition to the testimony of Chad Cobb about the role of his ex wife, there also was the damning testimony by Chad Cobb's mother, Cindy, who secretly recorded Erica acknowledging her role. Before we talk about it, let's look at some of the testimony from Cindy Cobb.
Ashley is going to get custody of this child, especially after the guardian ad litem came in and was like, the point where he was getting ready to be like, I can't help her. I'll terminate my rights. Yeah. Whatever he thinks.
All right, so let's go back. I mean, that's good. But that's just a paragraph. I just got.
Ms. Cobb, do you remember part of the transcript where there is, I believe it's Chad saying that he can't help her and he'll just terminate his rights to her?
Yes.
And that at that point in time, it was referred to as a tipping point.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. Do you think at that point in time, Ms. Cobb, that Chad seemed to, my phrase is, spin out of control?
No, like I stated, we'd seen him a few days prior, and they were getting ready to go on vacation.
Was he acting erratically, though?
No.
Did he take the attitude of women should be kept barefoot and pregnant and down on the farm?
No.
I'm not referring to the transcript right now, but I think you indicated that Chad at one point in time was in the military.
Yes, sir.
All right. And he joined the Marine Corps, I believe.
Correct.
All right. How long was he in the Marine Corps?
Just for basic training.
And why did he leave the Marine Corps after basic training, if you know?
They wanted to turn him into it was infantry, so it would have been first in, and he didn't have the stomach for it.
I apologize, ma'am. I didn't hear that last phrase.
I said he didn't have the stomach for being in the infantry.
What kind of discharge did the Marine Corps give him?
Other than honorable, I believe.
So that's Chad Cobb's mother, Cindy, being cross-examined by Erica's lawyer, Carrie O'Brien. And Lisa and Joseph, let me ask you, what can he do to undercut her testimony, the power of her testimony, and the recording that she made of Erica? Lisa, start with you.
Well, the only thing to do is to try to say that it was altered, the recording. And there was an attempt to do that, to find out if there was anything, anybody else had access to the safe where it was stored for 4 years before she brought it forward. Was there a chance that it was altered before it was put into transcripts? So that's, I believe, the only thing that they could pick holes in as far as that piece of evidence, that anybody else have that material during that 4-year time span.
And Joseph, also, it was suggested that Cindy had given Erica something to drink, and perhaps that loosened up her tongue or made her drunk, and she said things that weren't true. Was that an effective strategy, do you think?
I think that it's kind of difficult to state that and have it stick in court because it's almost unprovable. And that would leave big lapses, I think, in the minds of those that are going to make the ultimate determination in this case. How do we prove this? I think any right-thinking person would have to ask that question. So I don't necessarily buy into it. I don't think that it's a good strategy to kind of bring that out, and particularly if you're hanging your entire case on it.
And she's a very powerful witness, and no doubt Kerry O'Brien, as the defense lawyer, had to work hard to try to undercut the impact. Here's some more of that cross-examination.
It was his fault because he wouldn't share with you. I think exactly the way that I put it was that the reason that Mike and I got started in the first place was because I couldn't be myself by myself. I very explicitly said, by no fault of Chaz, he wasn't there through this shittiest time of my life. I didn't have my kids, and I didn't have Chad either, and I had nothing to lean on. I know he thinks, he's never said this, but my assumption is that he thinks I should have just leaned on you guys, but it's just, it wasn't, no offense to you, but it just didn't work for me. We're not overly great fans of each other. And, well, from my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily say that. You could say that, and I respect it, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that I have some problem with you guys or, anything of that nature. It was just, it wasn't comfortable. I couldn't, I don't think you would, even though we were both grieving over the situation with Chad, I think we were doing it in different kind of ways. I didn't feel comfortable with you. And I also felt like, as much as you were trying to be supportive of me for him, that you also were, you didn't say it, but I felt like in the back of your head, you still might be blaming me for it. In some way, which is not unreasonable, but it still didn't put me in a comfortable spot to be here.
Ms. Cobb, at this point in time, is Erica trying to indicate to you that she doesn't have any problem with you?
Correct.
Ma'am, do you recall, as part of that March 4th meeting with Erica Stefanko, Erica Lyon back then, your statement, Ms. Cobb, I think he snapped. I don't, and Ms. Lyon goes on to say, I don't, the only reason I'm confused about that, I can totally see him snapping, but except for two reasons.
Attorney O'Brien.
I'm sorry, Judge. Apologize. Particularly to Ms. I don't. The only reason I'm confused about that, I can totally see him snapping, but except for two reasons. One, I've seen him in a rage, totally furious, wanting to beat the crap out of somebody. And I've seen him be controlled enough to get just to the point where someone's at ankle would snap, but then not going any further with it even being that angry. That, and then the fact of he talked to me originally a totally different way right after it happened. You remember that part, Ms. Cobb? The fact that you said that he snapped?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not what it says.
Well,
Well, hold on, Attorney O'Brien. Number one, mask. Thank you. Number two, she can answer if she recalls. If she doesn't recall, she can tell the lawyer that also. Go ahead.
do you recall making that statement, Your Honor? I'm sorry, Ms.
I believe so.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Cindy Cobb, under cross-examination, doing her best to put forward the best case for her son, Chad, who's in prison for life for the murder of his former girlfriend, Ashley Biggs. Joseph and Lisa, it doesn't seem like he shook her very much. Lisa?
No, it didn't. She obviously, it's a recording and that's a transcript. So having her go back in time and sharing that with her in order to refresh her memory that she possibly said that. And she was congruent when she said, yes, that she believes she remembers making that statement about about her son. And it's a damaging statement. It shows that he has the ability to become very angry and that he can snap, and she is aware of that.
And of course, Joseph, he's not on trial. He's already pleaded guilty to the murder, to aggravated murder. So what do you think the mother's trying to do here? This is just clear revenge against a former daughter-in-law, Joseph?
Yeah, it would seem that it might be. I found it very interesting how counsel brought up this fellow's prior service record and statement that he asked, that he kind of wrangled the mother into making, just drawing out this statement from her that he didn't have the stomach for it. Well, we have evidence now that he had the stomach for extreme violence, Brian, in this particular case. Now, I don't know what we're supposed to take away from that, but yeah, it's the family dynamic here is very, very interesting. That's for sure.
It is a strange case for sure. A bitter custody battle, a brutal murder, and then family betrayal. We'll continue our coverage in just a bit after a break. You're watching the Law and Crime Report. Welcome back now to the Law and Crime Report. I'm Brian Ross, joined to help me analyze the testimony in the case against Erica Stefanko, Lisa Lockwood, and Joseph Scott Morgan. And both of you know that the testimony of Chad Cobb is very important, but so was the testimony of his mother, Cindy. She's the one who secretly recorded Erica and then was under cross-examination with questions about why she did it, why she waited. And then the prosecution had a chance to do what is called the redirect. Let's take a look at some of that redirect of Cindy Cobb.
Saying your son told her, I can't help her.
I'll terminate my rights.
I'll terminate my rights. At that point in time, terminating his rights would have been him giving up, wouldn't it have?
Yes, he was.
She's telling you he was ready to let it go.
Yes.
But she was already at that tipping point. Is that fair?
Yes, he did make statements that he was ready to be done and give Ashley custody.
And then she goes on, she's telling you about Ashley and how GC is going to turn out to be just like Ashley.
Correct.
And that's what she is telling you.
Correct.
Not that Chad told her or Chad said to you, that's what she's telling you.
Correct.
And after she talks about all that, top of page 138, line 1,
Grace has a chance at life. She does.
now she's telling you now, because Ashley's dead, GC has a chance at life.
Objection, Your Honor, that's not what it says.
I'm sorry, now,
Hold on. You're withdrawing that?
I'm sorry, I misstated it, and I'll correct it. She has a
So,
chance
hold
of...
on then. If you're not going to withdraw, the objection is sustained. Go ahead.
How we're doing this, I don't think you would have. No, it's not.
You were telling her there that if she had told him no way to do this, he wouldn't have done it. He would have listened to her.
Yes.
It's very true. And from the, if he
Was that, and did she acknowledge that?
Yes, she does.
had said, the thing that he and I really butt heads against is all the bullshit that we did that we shouldn't have, where we could have gotten in trouble. There's always something that
she's telling you this is the only way the situation's going to go away. What is this way? Do you know?
What had transpired with Ashley,
But you don't know because you weren't there, right?
correct?
But when she's telling you this is the way, she must know. Is that fair?
Yes,
And I feel like he really felt, I didn't know that at the time, but he really felt pressured by me to do something about it. I will admit to my fault in that. It's like, yeah, I should have at that point said, this is too risky. That point, whatever percent is too much. Because I just seen him get away with so much crazy shit that I thought he could get away with anything. I mean, he's got some crazy stories. The way he got that van.
So were you left with the impression that she was confident and felt that your son could pull this off?
yes, sir.
Those recordings very powerful. And Lisa Lockwood and Joseph Scott Morgan, let me ask you, on redirect, what's the goal of the prosecutor there? To clean up any mistakes that were made during the cross-examination? Lisa?
Yes, that is the goal. That piece of information there on what the intention was, as far as the only way to get out of the entire custody battle was to have a permanent disposal method of Ashley, to have her completely out of the picture. So this was discussed, and she believed that her husband was capable of doing it. So that's a huge revelation. That's incredibly damning that this was something that was discussed, and it seemed to be that that was the only way out. So Erica was well aware that this was the situation and ultimately ended up being the situation. Again, what was Erica's exact role? And as we move forward, we'll be able to pick through that and find out how involved she was.
Joseph, when the jury gets this case, probably sometime next week, they'll be listening to those tapes over and over, I assume, right?
Yeah, they can request certainly to see the transcripts. I don't know about the physical tapes themselves, but I think that a lot could be learned potentially just from the voice pattern and the inflection in the voice. As you well know, Brian, you've been in this for a long time. You know that just reading raw material like that is kind of difficult to digest, but when you can actually hear it and listen to it, I don't really understand what the rules might be governing that. But yeah, they certainly will be having access to those transcripts if they request them. They can review them.
And if the tapes are in evidence and any crime scene photos, et cetera, that can all be into the jury room if they want. Tell me if I'm not correct about that, but I think that's the
Uh,
case, right?
yeah, yeah, Brian, you are correct. They can review these under certain circumstances, and generally they're going to require some specificity relative to this. We want to see A, B, C, and D. That I don't know that they would just dump every bit of evidence that they have, documentary evidence, into the jury room. But yeah, they would have to request certain things. We want to see this specific piece of evidence. I've been involved in trials over the years regarding evidence that I've collected, and the jury has wanted to take it back and take a look at it, particularly documentary evidence like crime scene images as well as crime scene sketches.
And Lisa Lockwood, as you know, no witness is perfect. In the case here of Cindy Cobb, what are her biggest flaws in terms of the case that she presents?
Well, right now, from what was shown, I believe the credibility is coming forward as far as when she is questioned and asked, does she recall and does she remember saying certain things, and coming forward and actually saying that, yes, my son is capable of snapping and also has the anger issue. So I think that was a pro. The flaw in all of this, obviously, is to try to discredit her, to say, why is she all of a sudden going after Erica? What goal does she have? Her son is not getting any special deal out of any of this. So is this a vengeance tactic? Does she want to get even with her in some capacity because she doesn't like the fact that Erica is living freely, living her life and raising her children, and wants to have some additional accountability toward that?
But these tapes, of course, added to the testimony by Chad Cobb, certainly paint a pretty compelling picture that she had some role for sure in this, don't you think, Lisa?
I do, because one of the things that came forward is, was she applied with any type of alcohol? And when Joseph said earlier, you can read a transcript and not get a feel of if that person was under the influence of anything. And as we listen to Erica in that specific tape, there doesn't appear to be any type of slurring. There tends to be a sense of coherence, and she's speaking freely. So me, as a former police detective and also out on the street doing DUI arrests all the time, these are things that I look for. So not actually seeing the face, but listening to those speech patterns is important.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Lisa Lockwood and Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for joining us here on the Law and Crime Report. A fascinating trial underway in Akron. I'm Brian Ross, and thanks for joining us here on the Law and Crime Report on the Law and Crime Trial Network.